What is going on, you lot? Middi here. So I'm going to do this video about the top close range SMGs that you can be using in Rebirth Island. Obviously, we've got the update with the Rebirth Reinforced. You guys have seen all of the content I'm doing with that at a minute. But I wanted to do a video talking about a few guns that you lot can use, because you're probably wondering, you know, what are the best SMGs to be using right now. This is going to be my top 10 pick. I've tried and tested all of these weapons in the game. There's a few weapons in here that I think a lot of you probably don't even use or think are good, but they've actually come straight back into the meta again. As always, make sure you leave a like on the video, support my channel out, and let's get straight into all of the loadouts. So the first gun I'm going to be talking about is the Uzi Modern Warfare. This gun is super underrated, and it's going to be in my first spot because this is what I'm using at the minute. The first thing we're putting on is the monolithic suppressor. Second, we're putting on the carbine pro barrel. These were the first attachments to ever come into Modern Warfare on a gun. Second, we're putting in the optic, the mini reflex. Stock, we go for no stock. The magazine is going to be the 41 AE 32 round mags. You have got to do challenges for them too, but once you've got these two main attachments on it, the gun just turns into a straight beast. Really good weapon for close and medium range. The next SMG we're going to be talking about is the Arma. The new SMG is actually really good at the minute. For the muzzle, I go for the recoil booster. For the barrel, we're putting on the Botti 315. For the optic, you could go with a personal preference here. I normally actually go with the iron sights with it, but you could do a slate reflector if you prefer. For the stock, you want to be putting on the last one, the Botti D8 for its recoil control. For the underbarrel, we are going for the M19 hand stop. Magazine type is the Kurz 72 round mag. Ammunition, I normally go for subsonic on this, but again, personal preference if you want to go for hollow point or incendiary on this. For the rear grip, we're using a stippled grip on this. For the perk, we're going for vital for that increase of damage. And lastly, we're going for fully loaded. The gun barely has any recoil with this, easily controllable. And at close range, it demolishes people, but when it starts moving into more of a long range, gun does seem to lack in range a little bit. But for close range, beast. Next weapon we're going to be talking about is going to be the Owen Gun. It did receive a nerf, and I know a lot of people sort of don't really use it anymore, but I still think it is really viable at the minute. For the muzzle, we're going to be putting on the recoil booster. For the barrel, I don't actually use one, but if you want to put one on for more of a close range encounter, you put the rapid barrel on it, which is going to increase the fire rate even more, so you're going to be demolishing people at close range. But if you want to hit close to mid-range with this, I don't use any barrel with it. For the optic, we're going to be putting on the Model 47. I think it is the best one for the Owen Gun. For the stock, we're going to be putting on the H4 folding for the recoil control, because the gun does bounce a bit. For the underbarrel, we're going to be putting on the 1941 hand stop. Ammunition, we're going for the Gorenko 72 rounds. Ammunition is going to be subsonic again, but personal preference, what you want to put on it. And for the grip, we're going for the polymorph. Now for the last two perks, I put brace on and then fully loaded, of course, because best one. Owen Gun really is good. You should start using this in the game, whether you want to change around with a barrel or not. Use this exact loadout. See if you want to change the barrel on it. But all in all, the gun's a really good weapon to be using. Next gun on the list, and one that I do think is hitting under the radar a little bit, that not a lot of people use, is going to be the Type 100. Now for the muzzle, we're going for the recoil booster. For the barrel, it's a 374 for that recoil control, because this gun does have a lot of it, but you need to put the right attachments on it to control the recoil on it. For the optic, I normally use the slate reflector. Stock, we're going for the T100 for the increase of recoil control. Underbarrel is going to be the hand start. We're going to go for the 48 round. Now this is going to give it increased damage, because that's the only thing that it lacked with it. Just a little bit of a damage increase is what this weapon actually needed from the start. That's why we're using the Kurz 48. For the ammunition, we go for lengthened. Use the polymorph grip. Perk is going to be vital for the increase of damage, and then fully loaded. Type 100 is definitely a really off-meta weapon that a lot of people should start using. Try this one out in game and see how you get on with it, and leave a comment if you actually do end up using this one, because I am curious how you lot get on with it. The fifth gun on the list is going to be the MP40. I've started to see a lot more sweatier players use this, and I've made my own build for it, and I definitely think it is viable right now. We're going to be using the recoil booster as the muzzle. For the barrel, we go for the 189 short. Going to give it more damage range and limb damage, but you're going to have a decrease in headshot damage. For the optic, we are going for the 01M. You have got a choice between two, but the 01M just feels like it's got a better iron sight on it. For the stock, we're going for the Krausnik folding. The underbarrel is going to be the 1941 hand stop. The magazine is going to be the 45 Gorenko rounds for the increased fire rate. And lastly, I go for hollow point on this sometimes. Sometimes incendiary is a personal preference. If you don't want the damage range increased, just stick to lengthened or FMJ. Next, go for the polymorph grip. We're going to have for the perk the brace, and then fully loaded. This gun is going to have a really good ADS time, and at close range with the increased fire rate, it does really destroy people. Next gun on the list is going to be the Sten. Again, like the Type 100, a very off-meta weapon and not a lot of people use, but when used in game, definitely can demolish people. So don't underestimate it, and don't underestimate this loadout specifically. For the muzzle, I go for the recoil booster. For the barrel, I go for the rapid, so we've got the increased fire rate. The optic is going to be the slate reflector, but again, you could go for the model 47, depends on your preference. The stock is going to be the custom, which is going to give it a more initial fire and recoil control. The underbarrel is going to be the 1941 hand stop. The magazine type is going to be the 50 round mag drum. Ammunition, I normally go for frangible on this one. Rear grip is going to be the polymer grip. And lastly, for the perks, we go for sleight of hand and fully loaded. Now this gun, definitely try it out at close range. I mean, I know a lot of people probably think this one is definitely off meta, but at close range, it is up there with the rest of them. On its time to kill is definitely impressive to use. The next gun I'm going to be talking about is the Milano. This thing is an absolute beast. The red room Milano is the one that I'm using, but this is the loadout for it. We're going for the agency suppressor, the 9.5 rifled barrel, the microflex LED, although the alternative is that you can actually switch this for something else if you want to. The iron sight's not actually that bad on it, but I like having a microflex LED, makes it more accurate. Marathon stock for the sprint to fire speed, and then a 45 round mag drum. Some people like putting the bruiser grip on this one for the movement speed, so you could do that instead of the stock or the microflex LED, but this loadout is what works for me best. Really, really good gun. Use it. It's hugely meta right now, especially as an SMG, and it can beam people into mid-range. Next is going to be the Modern Warfare AUG. Again, I've done a video on this, and I did actually post it on my Facebook page, and it started getting views randomly. So I definitely think that a lot of people are starting to use this gun a lot more. For the muzzle, I normally go for the monolithic suppressor. For the barrel, I normally go for the 407 extended, which is going to give it more damage range and recoil control. The underbarrel is going to be the commando. The magazine type is going to be the NATO 30 round magazine. If you're playing solos or duos, go for the 30, but if you really are desperate for more ammunition, you can go for the 60 round mag, but your movement speed is going to be decreased hugely, not even making it much as an SMG, more as like an AR. So I normally stick with the 30 round, just so it's going to decrease the recoil a little bit, but at least you've still kept your mobility with it. But hey, if you're going into quads and you really want a 60 round mag, you can do it. And then lastly, for this weapon, we go for the stippled grip tape, just to give us a bit more ADS speed with it. That is the Modern Warfare AUG, really good gun to use. Next I'm going to be using in this list is the AS Val. Now this gun obviously was an AR, but in my head it always felt like it was going to be an SMG forever. So for the barrel, we're going to go for the VLK 200 for the damage range and bullet velocity. Then for the stock, we're going for the skeleton, which is going to give us more of that ADS speed to turn it into an SMG. The underbarrel, we go for the Commando foregrip, just so we can control it. Obviously, the 30 round magazine, there's not really much ammo types for this. And then lastly, I go for fully loaded on this. You could go sleight of hand instead, or maybe have another attachment just to give it more ADS speed. But fully loaded just seems like the best thing to put on it. That is the AS Val for close range, off-meta weapon, definitely good as an SMG. The 10th weapon on this list, and lastly, is going to be the LAPA. So this gun is probably one of my favorite things that came out. I've noticed a lot more people are starting to use it in Rebirth. For this gun, for the muzzle, we're going to be going for the agency suppressor. For the barrel, I'll go for the 10.2 Ranger, just for the damage range and bullet velocity. For the optic, we're going for the microflex LED. Then I go for field agent, and lastly on it, 50 round mag. This gun is really good as an SMG in the game. Easy to control and just all around a lot more reliable. But that is 10 close range weapons that you can start using in Rebirth right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have at the end of this video, I'm going to be posting a video every day of every single one of these attachments that I've just shown you, just so you guys have got a real idea of how they actually perform in the game itself. Could be starting with the Uzi and then making my way down all the way to the LAPA. I'll put some videos at the end of this when I start uploading them, so you guys can keep track of what guns I'm actually using in the game. As always, if this has helped, make sure you leave a like on the video, comment your favorite gun that you're using in Rebirth right now, even if I've not mentioned it. And as always, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, so you're seeing all of the new stuff in Rebirth Island. As always, I'll catch you a lot later.